Trump actively said to Woodward, and another element and part of these recordings, that he was playing it down. He said that out loud and is now trying to cover his tracks. Here's what he said to Woodward.
Now it's turning out it's not just old people, Bob. Just today and yesterday, some startling facts came out. It's not just older.
Yeah, exactly.
Young people, to plenty of young people.
So give me a moment of talking to somebody, going through this with Fauci or somebody who kind of, it caused a pivot in your mind, because it's clear just from what's on the public record that you went through a pivot on this to, oh my God, the gravity is almost inexplicable and unexplainable.
Well, I think, Bob, really, to be honest with you,
sure, I want you to.
I wanted to always play it down. I still like playing it down.
Yes,
because I don't want to create a panic.
That kind of flies in the face of Trump's attempts to show that he's a truth teller. Back in 2016, they did polling on who the American public thought was more honest, and Trump blew Hillary Clinton out of the water. And in a statistic I saw a few days ago that I think is really telling and a great news for the Democrats in this election, Biden is perceived as way more trustworthy than Trump. And this is not going to help that polling data. It's going to hurt it significantly, because I think average people will be able to see this story and go, wait, he was saying it was just going to disappear. And then behind the scenes, he was plotting about lying to the American public so that he could look better. I mean, no one buys this. I don't want to create a panic. And the end result of creating a panic is, as the most of the general public knows, is all about protecting himself from political harm. And I think that comes through. I don't think he's going to be able to get away with his excuse of Bob Woodward sat on this for X amount of months so that he could sell his book. I mean, fine, that's an ancillary criticism, but I don't even think that lands at all, because when you have audio, when you have tapes, as you said, Michael, it's just irrefutable.
Yeah, and I further to that notion here is that some of these things. Now, I don't buy that America is dripping with undecided voters right now. So I don't think that there are too many people to sway. But I do think the people that left Trump in 2018, that left the Republicans, that they're trying to get back now in any way that they can. I think it becomes very difficult for those people to now go back. I think this is further evidence to that point. So I think the things that he said about the military, which came to light last week, these sorts of things have some kind of enduring power, and that these will be on some voters' minds till the end. And of course, if you have the president saying that he wanted to avoid a panic, sometimes panic saves lives. And in this case, panicking would save lives. If you sit in a burning theater, you are going to die in that burning theater. If you run out of that theater in a panic, you have a greater chance of surviving that. Doesn't mean walk over people. It doesn't mean anything like that. But the point we're making here, there was a pandemic in 1917, 1918, that when the country sort of came together to get around that panic, when they knew so much less about science, they were able to do that in a panicky way. This was an opportunity to just get Americans to do what we're doing now, putting on masks and staying away from each other, and doing it earlier than the president thought it was necessary. And that to me is that's irresponsible. You have some members of Congress on Twitter saying that it's involuntary manslaughter. I think that might be excessive, but I do think that it brings people to the mindset of thinking about it as being negligent, and this was negligent presidenting.
I think politically it goes too far, but I wouldn't say it goes too far in terms of just the facts, because we saw how Trump responded here. He really did not care how many people died. If it was all about saving face, I'm brought back to that Axios interview where he's quibbling about the statistics and the numbers and triumphant when he's looking and comparing the death rates to this other specific data point, because the only time anything resonates with him is if it's about how it appears and reflects upon him and how it makes him look to the public. And so the fact that he was talking about hiding the truth behind the scenes is just another data point that people will put in their pockets when it comes to his lack of trustworthiness. And finally, when I talk to some apolitical people, a lot of times they'll go, well, what could he have done? They don't really follow the news that closely. They have no idea what's going on in other countries, how they were able to stymie the virus and return to some normalcy at a rate that seems alien to the United States. Hopefully, this story, if it gets enough coverage, can push through that fog, that malaise, that complete disconnect from how politicians and policy impacts people's lives on a daily basis. And they can see that a lot could have been done. I think that's really important. That connection needs to be made by the Biden campaign.
He's made it obvious. The president's made it obvious because we see what he didn't do, which means implicitly that something could have been done, right? And so you're 100% right. I also think what you're seeing at play here is obviously we know about narcissists, and we know that the president is one, and caring about his political future is clearly much more important to him than any of the other sort of side stories here. But what you're looking at too is the chance to have saved American lives, to have been what the president, part of the president's job profile is, which is comforter in chief. And it sounds hokey, but it's also true. You go to a disaster and you hug the people who lost their home in the tornado. You hug the people who lost their family in a flood or in a fallen building. I mean, whatever you think of George Bush standing in the rubble of 9/11, talking to these people who were just shell shocked, literally. That's what the president does. In this case, he took no empathic road, no path to making people feel better. That's also gonna hurt him, I think, in the polls. When you look at what Joe Biden, whether you like Joe Biden or not, there's one thing you can't argue is that he does sort of project great empathy in times of sadness and crisis, and through experience, and I think just through how he was brought up. And I don't think you have that with Donald Trump. And he had an opportunity here, going back to the thesis that you just presented. He had an opportunity for action and he didn't take it.
You don't think Trump projects empathy, Michael?
Well, it depends on how late at night and what she looks like, I guess.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.